host, Daren Wendell.
You fish freaks, welcome to the KFO show, episode number 79, brought to you by the old Wendell Fishing YouTube channel. If you guys haven't been over there yet, 1,500 videos, daily shorts, daily community posts, a weekly podcast, and 1 to 2 long form videos a week. Just surpassed 11 million views. So excited about that. Got a lot of great people lined up all the way through February for the podcast. Got World's Worst Fishing, Creek Fishing Adventures, Headbanger Lures, Dalton Albright, Fishing with Gramps, Bearded Paddler. Got a few invites out to Drew Gregory, Garrett Wade. So looking forward to having a good next few months here on the podcast. But tonight, folks, I got Alex Rudd. I'm excited. Alex, welcome to the show, brother. How you doing?
Good, buddy. How are you? I'm excited to be here. That's how I am. I'm really excited to be here. It's going to be a good show. I love podcasts. So anytime I get to sit down and talk to people, I'm always excited. So I'm excited to be here.
Bro, a short that went 28 million views.
Yeah.
Freaking nuts.
Yeah.
What in the world?
Yeah.
It's like a content creator's dream just fell on you.
Short also got 65 million views on TikTok.
Oh gosh. I'll be completely honest with you. There's nothing special about it.
Nope, there's not. There's not. But I think what is special about it is it creates an argument. Well, is it a boat or is it not? It's a motorized kayak, and so people get to go in. And I think that there's one comment stream in that comment section that's like 1,500 comments long, and it's just people arguing with each other. And
which is beautiful, right?
Yeah.
For you.
Gotta let them go, man. He's got to let them go, let them grow. You know what I mean? Let them go, let them grow.
So let everybody know what it's about. I don't know how you haven't seen it. 28 million people watched it, but in case you haven't, one of the few.
Yeah, it was the Old Town, the MK 108 kayak, and in that short, that TikTok, whatever I actually posted on TikTok first. Actually, has a funny story. It was before TikTok really kind of took off during COVID. And I was just out in that kayak, and my buddy TJ, Yak Pack Outdoors, had made a similar video, a similar short. So I texted him like in real time. I said, "Hey, I'm going to copy this idea. You good with that?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm good with it. Whatever." Copied him verbatim, mind you, and posted it on TikTok. And so I put my phone in my pocket, didn't think anything about it, went home, took a shower, was going out to eat with my wife. And I pulled up my phone and I had like 1,000 notifications on TikTok. And I was like, oh, what's going on here? And it had like started going viral. And in like 2 hours, it got 1 million views. In 3 hours, it had like 10 million views. In 5 hours, it had 30 million views, and it just skyrocketed. And it did the same thing on YouTube. So it's just crazy. It's one of the most viralistic pieces of content that I've ever created. And I did it on a whim in the middle of a muddy creek.
That is every content creator's dream.
Oh, yeah.
But that was years ago. Okay, I thought that was recent.
No, that's like 6 years ago.
And is it still performing? I mean, we call that in the content creation world a subscriber magnet. And
yes.
I could only imagine.
Yeah, no, it still does well. I mean, even like I literally could probably pull up TikTok right now. Like, let's just prove the point, because this is how ridiculously viralistic it is. Okay, we don't care about Sephora. I don't shop at Sephora. Why are you showing me that ad? So we go here. Let's go to activity. And yeah, so someone just commented on it 1 minute ago. And it is currently sitting at 741,000 likes and roughly 67 million views. So.
I don't even know what to say. I don't even know. Outside of, I'm going to now go copy it somehow.
Yeah,
verbatim. And it'll be a test. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. It's stupid, man. It's stupid. So yeah, that is what we all dream of and dream for right there. It's one of those.
I'm going to do it. Well, as soon as they don't have freaking ice on the water. This is why I need to live in Tennessee and not Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, buddy. It's a little cold up here, huh?
Little bit. I'm literally my kayak, my rods, everything. I'm breaking it all down. I'm cleaning my lures, changing out the hooks. My kayak's up in the lift.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be probably, I'll bring it back down in February.
So
do some March fishing.
Is it freeze hard enough that you can fish on it, or you're in that weird in-between place where it's like you can't?
everyone asks me, hey, do you get into ice fishing? And up here, I mean, it literally could be a season of 2 weeks.
Really? Yeah.
That's what's so maddening about it. I was like, okay, I don't
Yeah.
want to invest $500,000 to maybe go 2-3 times at best. Now, granted, it could be 4 weeks, or sometimes it could be nothing. It's just one of the I'm right there in that Canton area,
Mm-hmm.
Ohio, so you just never really know what you're gonna
Interesting.
get. One
Yeah.
year might be crazy snow. Like last year, I think I shoveled my driveway 2, maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. Yeah. It's funny because people are always like, do you ice fish? And I'm like, I've never even seen a lake freeze. The back of a pocket freeze one time, but I've never seen a whole lake freeze. Definitely not thick enough to walk on. Like when it gets that cold, I go trout fishing. That's what I do. Like,
Right.
just cause it's fun. But yeah, no, it does not get that cold here in Tennessee.
A little jealous. Now, I brought you on the show because, well, I love having you. This is what, second or
Yes, sir.
third time? Second time?
I don't know. It's a great
All right.
question.
Second or third time, regardless.
I've been here before. We'll just put it that
You've
way.
been here before. Well, last time you were here, you had nothing on the wall, so you just moved into your house.
Okay, so that's been like 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
No, that wasn't that because the podcast hasn't been up that long. Something happened recently where there's nothing on your walls. I do remember that. I don't know what just happened.
Yeah, we finally have like a little podcast room now, so that's pretty cool. I got a little setup here. I'm actually kind of fancy now, obviously with my little arm and all.
Oh yeah.
We're killing it now.
Funny story on this arm. I ordered one, like the cheap one, because I'm cheap, and then they sent me this by accident.
There you
And
go.
it's like a $200 arm, which is ridiculous. I would never ever buy that.
Yes. Yes.
Anyways, all right. So I had you on because you just got back.
Yes.
From a juicy adventure. I have not talked to you about this. We texted back and forth briefly.
Yes.
I mean, briefly, folks. And you shared some things with me that I was like, that is wild. So what were you doing down in Mexico?
Yeah, we were bass fishing in Mexico. So we went to Picachos Lake. We'll back up a little bit. So
let's back up.
Yeah, let's back up. So a buddy of mine, his boss, or I think it's his boss, co-worker, is retiring, and he wanted to plan a big trip to Mexico as part of his like retirement, like escapades or whatever. I don't know. It's like a whole season. Yes, a whole season of retirement, right? And so one of the guys ended up not being able to go, and so he called me, and it was funny because the conversation went, hey, have you ever thought about fishing in Mexico? And I was like, I don't even know what the question is, but the answer is already yes. Like, I'm down, whatever it takes, let's go. And so I got invited on the trip and actually got to go to Mexico for about $1,000 cheaper than the actual cost of the trip, because this dude paid the down payment or whatever. And so I only had to pay part of it. But
thank you, whoever you are out there who needs to back out in the last minute.
Exactly. And so we were supposed to go to El Salto Lake actually first, and ended up the cartels were doing cartel things. And so since the cartels were doing cartel things, they said, hey, El Salto is out of the picture, but we can take you to this other lake called Picachos. They said, you're not going to catch as big a fish, but you're going to catch a lot of fish. And I was like, listen, I don't care. I want to go to Mexico.
And I want to come home.
And I want to come home. And I was like, and I want to go on an adventure, and I want to go to Mexico, because it was literally on the bucket list of things to go do in my bass fishing life. Like, it was actually one of the things that me and my dad were going to go do before he passed away from cancer. And so, like, it was one of those things I was like, I've got to go to Mexico. Like, I'm going. Whatever it takes, however it takes to get there, let's go to Mexico.
So you have thought about this before?
Absolutely. Yeah, no. So, I mean, like, I think a lot of people, like, Mexico is like,
I don't think bass fishing when I think Mexico, by the way.
Really? You don't?
No. But I don't think much about Mexico anyways. I live in Ohio, folks. If I'm going anywhere, it's typically north to fish.
Yes.
I don't think, hey, let's travel halfway across the country.
Yeah, you're not going hola, senor. You're going hey there, ho there, bud. Yeah, I get it. So so Mexico is interesting. So like back in the 80s, the Mexican government, well, the late 70s and early 80s, the Mexican government started to build dams and to flood out these valleys, kind of like what we did here with the TVA system back in the 40s. And it was for power creation, creating hydroelectric power. It was for irrigation for farms, and then it was for tilapia harvesting.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
And so, there was some dudes, Ron Speed being one of them, is the guy's name. And that's actually the people that we went with, was Ron Speed Adventures. I don't know the whole story of why they were there or what was going on, but they started bringing in bass and stocking bass into these lakes. And so these lakes, Picachos, El Salto, Bacharach, Comadero, all of those lakes are like the perfect environment for a bass to grow. Like, it's got everything that they need, just the nutrients in the water, the food availability, the temperature, everything is absolutely perfect.
Huh.
And so you've got these lakes down there that not only can they have 9 to 15 pounders in them,
Oh, wow. Okay, now.
but they also have like the densest population of bass per square acre of any body of water in the world. It's so like,
Is it not like a lot of people fishing these things?
well, not really. Other than the dudes who run the guide services down there, which there's only like 3. There's Ron Speed, Billy Chapman's another one, and then there's a couple more that have kind of come onto the scene. These lakes just don't get a ton of pressure. But the thing about them is they're growing bass so big and so fast that the pressure just doesn't even get to
Doesn't
them.
even matter.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter.
No,
And so,
it's
yeah,
interesting because I did research around the world. Bass are really invasive species outside of here, like
absolutely.
United States, and so
Yes.
people don't necessarily realize this. They'll take over an environment real fast,
Yes.
internationally, and so that makes sense to me. What
Yeah.
you're telling me here.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, a little side tangent with the whole invasive bass thing. That's like Japan. That's
Yeah.
what's always cracked me up about Japan as a whole. Is they're like, everybody's like, the Japanese are the leading innovators of bass fishing everything, and I'm like, yes, they are. They're great, but at the end of the day, they're fishing for an invasive species that the Japanese government tried to eradicate, but couldn't. Like, that's just it. Like literally, bass fishing in Japan hinges on the fact that there was a businessman in the 40s that went, I'm going to take these things and I'm taking them to Japan and I'm going to illegally put them in the bodies
See
of
what
water
happens.
and see what happens. That's why, because he liked the way they taste. And so he was like, here, we're just going to throw these in these lakes. But essentially the same thing happened to Mexico. And what's really cool about these lakes in Mexico is not only are they full of bass, full of tilapia, full of bluegill, full of these little bait fish that they call mosquito bait fish. And we get into the whole like food chain down there, which blew my mind.
Which I
But
want to, by the way.
yes, yeah, we're gonna. It's
Okay,
dude.
we will go there.
Yes, the whole thing is awesome. Make notes because we're gonna go all over the place with this thing. But what's really cool is that with those reservoirs, you get to see what Tennessee reservoirs were like in the 40s and the 50s when they were first flooded.
Okay.
Because a lot of people don't understand that, like, when you look at these big reservoirs around me, these highland reservoirs and a lot of the Tennessee River system lakes, they were only created in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. Well, that doesn't seem that long ago, but in the lifespan of reservoirs, as soon as you dam that reservoir up, you turn on the clock. And each reservoir has a lifespan. Now, these lifespans are thousands of years, but when you start getting into the hundreds of years that these reservoirs have been established, that's when you start seeing the water get really clear. You start seeing a lot of that sediment settle to the bottom. A lot of that standing timber just rots away and goes away that used to be there. A lot of the, house foundations and things that were there eventually just erode away and there's nothing. And you start having reservoirs like we have now, deep, clear reservoirs, that are hard to fish.
Right.
Whereas these lakes are 20 and 30 years old, not 100 years old, and they still have the standing timber, the house foundations, the nutrients in the water. There's still color to the water. And I mean, it's still got that new lake effect and that founder effect that those bass need to just absolutely explode in population and size. And that's what we're seeing still with these Mexican lakes. And so that's why Mexico becomes a destination for a lot of bass anglers. It's just because it's the most insane bass fishing you'll ever do.
Where in Mexico were you? Like,
Yeah,
you talking like Juarez, or were you like where down there? And obviously,
southwest Mexico. So we were on the Pacific side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's called Mazatlan is where we flew into. But it's on the Pacific coast, the West Coast. But from the airport, it's like hour and 30-minute drive to get into the mountains. We drive into the mountains. And those lakes, they're all kind of right there, pretty much close together, like within an hour drive of each other. but it's El Salto, Bacharach, and Picachos. And then there's another one called Comadero that's right there too, which it doesn't get as much hype, but apparently is like really starting to grow into like another fantastic lake to go and fish. So it's really, really cool.
So like everybody actually wants to get on with the bigs is the one that you're like, okay, you have to take the temperature of what the cartel's doing at the moment. Is that what's happening?
Pretty much. Yeah. So I asked about it.
Yeah, that's all the question. That's all the questions I'd be asking them.
Yeah, the cartel thing's weird, right? Like I think a lot of people, and I was nervous about it. Like I won't say that I wasn't kind of wary about the whole situation. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I do have to say at no point did I ever feel unsafe or did I feel like that I was in a bad situation. Like it was a very well run business and system getting us there. I mean, like the people that we went with have been doing it since the 80s.
Okay.
So I mean, they know what they're doing. You know what I mean? But I kind of asked some questions about the whole cartel thing, and essentially the cartel like doesn't the only way that you can say this is just the truth about it. They don't really mess with white people, and it's because they know most white people are Americans, and if they mess with Americans, they're cooked. And so like they want to avoid us as much as we want to avoid them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was kind of talking to the guys about it. They actually have, I wouldn't say a relationship with the cartel, but the cartel definitely like is very transparent about like, hey, we're going to be in this area and we don't want you here. And they're just like, okay, cool. We'll go to this other area.
Right.
And like somehow that information
gets relayed
relayed to them somehow. And like, so they just know like El Salto was like kind of just off the table this go around, which is really interesting. But yeah, I mean, so it's dude, it's crazy. I mean, it's still Mexico. I mean, it's still the cartel. You're still not in America, right. and I think that's the one thing that you got to understand. This isn't my first time out of the country. It's definitely not my first time in a let's say a country that is less established or is as established as America is.
Right.
And so like, I kind of knew what to expect, what to do, what not to do. But if people are like wanting to do it, like you got to be cognizant, you got to be aware, but I wouldn't say that it's like something where you're like putting your life at total risk to go bass fishing in Mexico. Like once you're where you're at, you're on the lake, you are behind lock, key, gate, and your safety is their number one priority, and having a full belly is their second priority, and their third priority is catching as many bass as you possibly can, and it's really, really awesome.
Interesting enough, I used to work for an international development nonprofit. I was a fundraiser. I still am for 15 years.
Yeah.
And when I used to travel to Africa and Cambodia a lot, I would have this card that the company sent with me, and it was titled luggage insurance, and it had a phone number on it. It wasn't luggage insurance. It's if I was ever taken or ransomed or whatever it is, I would hand that over, and it was the insurance company that would negotiate on my behalf.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the type of work I did for about 10 years. I don't think I've ever told anybody that. We weren't supposed to tell anybody when I was there. But I don't work there anymore. And I don't know if I ever told my wife either. She's listening upstairs. She'd be like, what? Excuse me? Anyways, luggage insurance, folks.
Luggage insurance.
Luggage insurance.
I feel like I don't even know if they're going to call and negotiate. They're just going to like some guy on the other end of the phones is going to be like,
I have a very particular set of skills. I will find you and I will kill you if you don't give up Daren Wendell right now.
There it is. Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like what's that one actor always plays typecasts that?
Liam Neeson.
Yeah, it's just gonna go straight to his cell.
Yeah, it's just straight to Liam Neeson, and like Liam answers like hello, and it's like, we have your man. Oh, okay, I know what this is.
I will find you. See you in 24 hours.
Oh, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Well, then you know how it is, bro. You know how it is.
Oh my gosh. I know how it is.
And I have to say, like, it's like I told Bethany, my wife, we were talking about it. I was like, it's Mexico. I mean, it's definitely Mexico, but it's not like, again, didn't feel unsafe. Like I've been to Haiti 4 times and I felt way more unsafe in Haiti than I ever did in Mexico. I'll just put it that way. Like it was a cakewalk compared to Haiti. And so, but yeah, dude, it's crazy. The cartel's crazy. The whole thing's crazy. I mean,
well, that area over there in Mexico is like the traveled. A lot of people from California go down into that part of Mexico. So it's not super wild, I would imagine. It's still Mexico.
It's still Sinaloa, Mexico, though, because that's where we were at.
Everyone knows the Sinaloa cartel, right? They're famous. Yeah.
I mean, like Sinaloa, like Mazatlan is a city in Sinaloa, the province of Sinaloa. So we were like where the cartel came from, but yeah, it is what it is, dude. Like I think it's gonna be a fun like thing to like title the videos with. You know what I mean? Like fishing in the drug cartel lake.
Yeah, avoiding the drug.
Yeah, avoiding the drug cartel to catch giant bass. Like, I mean, because it was the truth. I only heard automatic gunfire one time too.
Oh my gosh!
Up in the mountains, so we're all good. It's all good. All good.
So, we worked in a part of Cambodia when Pol Pot was in reign, and anyways, there's landmines all over the countryside, and one went off within distance one day when I was there, and I've never heard that sound before. It was terrifying.
Oh yeah!
Like, holy cow! What in the world just set that off? And yeah, for someone who doesn't, was never part of the military or anything like that, that sticks with me, man. It's wild.
I'm sure.
Yeah, there's signs everywhere, like don't walk here, stay on the path, think minefields, and there's.
You hope it's like a deer or a rabbit,
there's
a person. Like that's
something. Right. Yeah, a mouse,
a bird, a leaf,
a mole, anything.
Yeah, just anything other than something that bleeds. Like, come on now,
oh my gosh,
tarantula, anything. No, but yeah, man, it was cool, dude. Like it was fun. It was just a cool. I mean, to me, just the overall experience. I mean, the food was incredible. They fed us 3 square meals a day. Like, got up in the morning, it was eggs, bacon, some sort of bread, anything that you wanted. I mean, like the kid that worked there was named Valentine, and he was awesome. Like as soon as I walked in, he would have a Coca Light, which is Diet Coke, and he would set it down right in front of me before I could even like process what was going on. But you would fish from essentially daylight until 12. At 12, you came in and had a full sit-down lunch again.
Okay.
And then you would have a siesta until 2, and then we would fish from 2 until dark. And as soon as we came back at dark, they would either have chips and salsa and guacamole or nachos as an appetizer, and then dinner was at 6. And, like, we had, 18-ounce ribeye steaks. We had like a seafood buffet bowl thing one night. Like, just incredible amounts of food and anything you want to eat, drink, food, dessert, they had it all. And so just, I mean, the overall experience of that side of it was incredible. And then not to mention we caught 446 bass. Just me and my buddy Brad in one boat. That's just one boat. In total, I think we caught like 4,000 bass the whole entire week for the whole group. But just me and Brad caught 446 bass in 4 days.
4 days. So I've only done those numbers once. There's a place here in Ohio, Southern Ohio, that I go to. And I remember it was 3 days. It was like 300 and some. We went on 4th day. And it's one of those experiences where you're like, my fingers hurt from taking out so many hooks. Which is like a bass fisherman's dream, by the way.
Just probably have more.
All right. So you were slaying numbers.
Yes.
Were you picking out any size in the midst of that?
Yeah, so that was kind of I don't want to use the word disappointing because it was not disappointing at all, but it was kind of the thing about Picachos is it's not El Salto. So El Salto is a lake where you go catch those kinds of numbers, but you're going to have the potential to catch 30 to 35 pounds of bass in your best 5 every single day.
Wow.
Picachos is a lake where you're going to have a chance to catch a 20 to 25 pound bag every single day.
Got it.
And so it's one of those things I caught more 4.5 to 5 pounders than I knew what to do with. The biggest fish that I caught all week was 6.5 pounds.
Okay.
The biggest fish for our group for the trip was only 7.5 pounds. Okay. And so like Picachos just isn't there on the size yet. That's kind of what they were talking about. They were like, about 10 more years and you're going to have El Salto 2.0 on your hands here. They've just not reached that size yet. But I mean, dude, I caught a couple fish that were 18, 19 inches long that weighed 5.5 pounds. I mean, the dimensions on these fish, they're just ridiculous. And it's because they eat tilapia.
Here we go. I mean, it's a big fish.
It's a big fish. I mean, there's some tilapia eating mugs too. Like, you'd hook one and like it'd be fighting it by the boat and it'd spit up a tilapia as big as your hand. It's like a 2-pounder.
Don't you love that? Yeah. I love when you catch bass and they jump and they throw the food just flying through the air. Oh my gosh.
I mean, at one point, dude, I had it up my shirt. It was on the boat. This one fish just puked everything that it had in its belly up on me. But yeah, I mean, so not a ton of big ones, but a ton of numbers. I mean, like I said, average fish was probably 3.5 pounds.
Yeah, I'll take a 3.5 pound bass all day long. I mean, up here in the north, right? They 2.5, 3, 4, 5, 6 pounders. Those are solid bass. I know a lot of people are writing me on my on the channel and stuff. Are like, oh man, my personal best is 4 pounds. My personal best is 4.5 pounds. And so I got some people listen in. You're like, that would be a dream come true. Not only would I hit my personal best probably 6 times over 4 days, but man, that's stupid.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So stupid.
It's just stupid. It is. I mean, it's just silly. I mean, like at one point when my hand was, so we stopped on one spot, and Rafa was our guide that day. So he had a different guide every day. And Rafa spoke no English, but he did know the word crankbait, and he knew that symbol right there, which meant throw over there. And he would go.
That's all you need to know.
All you need to know.
Crankbait.
He goes,
there.
Crankbait. I go, crankbait? And he goes, crankbait. I said, please, senor. He goes, there. I said, all right. I hum this Berkeley dredger over there, and I'm burning it back. Dude, I hooked one right there. We sat there and caught 54 fish in 20 minutes off of that one spot.
Oh
Literally, there was a point at which my hand was cramping, holding onto the reel, trying to reel this fish in, and I'm trying to get my hand to uncramp. And like we were joking back and forth with each other, like $100 I can get one hooked before you get yours unhooked and get it back in the water. And like just reel. There's one. You're trying to like roll it across the top of the water to get it in, and like just making a game out of catching fish. I mean, that's how silly and just stupid the amount of fish we caught was. And it's just, and that's the best part too, is it's like, it wasn't boring crap. Like, it's not like, oh, you got to drag a drop shot. Oh, you got to throw a Ned rig. No,
just burn
8-inch worms, like 20-foot diving crankbaits, giant spinner baits, flukes, top waters, and flipping. Like, that was it. And I mean, dude, like,
sounds like just about anything you throw.
Pretty much they would pretty much eat anything. But what was crazy though about that is like, it was kind of funny. The first 2 days, I mean, obviously just silly. We caught a ton. Well, the third day we were there, we got a guy named Namor, and Namor wanted to go head hunting. And Namor was cool because like he looked at me and like he kind of spoke English pretty good. And so we were kind of some broken English, broken Spanish, Spanglish. We were kind of, we were getting there.
You're figuring it out, yeah.
Yeah. And he looked at me, he goes, grande. I said, si, grande. Si. And he goes, the river? And I said, grande? He goes, si. And I was like, all right, let's go to the river. And so we went head hunting that day. And I mean, it was kind of crazy how even with those fish that are willing to eat about dang near anything you would throw in there, how you can dial it in just a little bit more. And those dudes knew how to dial it in just a little bit more. And we kind of made a few color adjustments, a few, adjustments. What was really weird, and I don't understand this one, and I'm going to have to kind of dig into it a little bit more. They wanted a peg Texas rig more than they wanted an unpegged Texas rig. And like, when I say they wanted it more, like it was like you went from catching 4 or 5 to catching like, so my buddy was fishing unpegged Texas rig. I was fishing pegged. For every one he caught, I caught 6.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know why. I don't know if it was the action of the bait. I don't know if it's the way that it fell or what it was, but like, that was one of the things Namor kind of helped us to like dial in. He was like, it was funny because he was like, the weight, I always had it unpegged, just had a normal Texas rig. He goes, the weight. And I was like, what about the bigger? He goes, no. He goes, the peg. I was like, oh, you did a peg.
Yeah.
I was like,
you break a toothpick out? Is that what you did? You just shoved it in there?
Well, I brought pegs with me.
Okay, there you go.
Bobber stops with me. So I bobber stopped that thing on there. And I mean, he goes, see, like he was all about that. And sure enough, you start throwing it in there and they start smoking it. And it was the same thing with color. Like, these bass were so funny because like they wanted green pumpkin or watermelon. That's like the color they wanted. That's all they wanted. And
what
like
was the color of the water?
Like green. Like a green pumpkin disappeared into it.
Yeah, you would think like, okay, that's not fish the contrast. That's match.
Yes.
So bizarre.
Yes. And so that was a weird thing that with him, I've been throwing a big ribbon tail, and I had like a plum ribbon tail, and I caught a lot of fish on a plum ribbon tail. But with him, we switched to the green pumpkin. It was just a green pumpkin general, like a stick bait.
Yeah.
pegged on a Texas rig with a 1/2 ounce weight. And dude, like we went from like catching a bunch of 2-pounders to a bunch of like 3.5 to 4-pounders.
Okay.
And our like bite ratio went substantially up. And like it was just weird to kind of see how and these guys fish all the time. That's kind of the cool part too, is like these guides aren't just like dudes who they give waypoints to and they run around. Like, and there's like no graphs on the boat. There's no electronics. They've got old trolling motors without spot lock. And I mean, these dudes, like one of the things that Namor did is we got hung up on a house foundation that he didn't know was there. Oh. And so he took where we got hung up and cut it off and tied a Coke can to it so that the Coke can would float so he knew the house foundation was there so that he could come back.
He could fish it.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah. And I mean, dude, it was just stuff like that, man. But yeah, dude, it was kind of crazy.
OG waypoints right there.
Dude. And like, that was the best part. Like, I looked at Brad, my buddy. I was like, this is my kind of fishing. I was like, this is how I grew up fishing, where he's like, you see that house? You see that tree? Throw right in between those two. And I'm like throwing over and it's like 6-pounder. And you're like, there it is. I can do this, Oh, and so it's just very interesting, man. Like, but it was kind of cool when we got with Namor. He kind of dialed in looking for those bigger fish. And we did go head hunting, man. I mean, throwing the big swim baits. I say big, like 5-inch, unrigged cull shad, slow rolling it on the bottom, throwing that stick bait.
Were they hitting the glides?
No, they didn't hit anything. Like they would follow a lot of that stuff. These fish are really dialed into like that 5 to 6-inch size bait, especially the big ones. It's tilapia. It's those hand-sized tilapia. And that's kind of what, was the main. So I know we said we'll talk about like the forage there. The forage is very interesting.
Okay.
So you've got these things called mosquito shad. And it's like literally you would think it was bass fry. And I thought it was bass fry when I first saw it. And they are absolutely everywhere. Like I'm talking to the point where if a lure hits the water, these mosquito shad just like fly all over the place. And so that's like the first level of forage in this lake. And not only is that forage for the small, tiny bass, but that's also forage for the tilapia. And so you've got billions of these. Yes. I mean, that's it right there. Just little bitty tiny shad. And so you've got billions of these things in the water. And so not only can the bass eat those, but the tilapia eat those.
And they get this fat too, like right here.
I didn't see the fat ones. They were more those like little skinny ones that's in that.
And there's this gazillions of these things.
Just, I mean, dude, incredible amount. Like, when I start putting these videos out, I've actually got day one edited. So videos will be coming out soon. But like when a lure would hit the water, they would just scatter everywhere. And like early in the morning, a lot of the like 1 to 2 pound bass would be up shallow eating those things. And like when I say like bass are everywhere, if we go fishing in one of our lakes, we might see a bass blow up once an hour,
right?
Twice an hour. If it's during a good shad spawn, you'll see them blow up 6 times in an hour. This was 6-7 times every 5 minutes.
Wow.
Like just
constantly.
Boom, boom. I mean, just everywhere. And like they were big ones too. Big ones, little ones, all sizes, but a lot of big ones. But anyway, so you've got all these mosquito shad. And then you've got bluegill. You got a bunch of different kinds of bluegill in there. But then the main forage is that tilapia. Okay. And the tilapia is not only forage for the bass, but it's forage for the people as well. The people eat them, and there's a big industry of commercial tilapia harvesting that goes on in these lakes. And so all these big tilapia, the ones you kind of associate with eating, and the ones you see like in ponds and stuff, those are being taken out consistently, like day after day after day. And so it leaves a bunch of these like palm-sized to hand-sized tilapia in the lake, which when that bass gets to a certain size, that's what it keys it.
Nailed it.
On
right.
It. That's its main, food source. And that's what just makes them so keyed in on like that 4 to 6 inch bait. And that didn't matter if it was a worm, a wacky rig, like the unrigged coal shad. It was, like a jerk shad, which is essentially a fluke, like anything that was in that size, even the deep diving crankbaits, like the dredger, like, it's a 4-inch bait. That's what they wanted. That's what they were keying in on. And if you looked at those tilapia, which is even weirder because green pumpkin worked as well as it did, those tilapia are like yellow.
Yeah.
In which bled over into the bass because all the bass were yellow too. And I think it's because they consume so much tilapia, it like tints their skin.
Dude,
so,
I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Oh, I got a couple bass that I caught on video, man, that like their mouths were as yellow as a school bus. And I guess it's just where they ingest so much tilapia that it's like a flamingo. You know, that's why flamingo's pink is because they eat shrimp. It's the
Right.
iodine in the shrimp that makes them pink. So I guess whatever's yellow in the tilapia, and that's what the bass bleeds over into the bass, and you see it in the bass. It's like, so dude, it's just the perfect for like, you know, when you look at pond management or lake management, Mexico is like a pond manager's wet dream because the perfect food structure, cover structure, water temperature, nutrient base, food base that a bass needs to turn into a freak. And that's what this is just a freak factory. Because that's another thing. Dude, you catch a bass and you look at it and you be like, that's a 2-pounder. You put it on a scale and it's like a 3.5. And it's just because they're that fat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You used to picking them up. You're looking at them by length. You're like, oh yeah, in Tennessee, Ohio.
Yes.
That makes sense. Do you know why they're called mosquito fish?
I don't.
I'm not. Don't take this like, hey, Daren, you're pretty smart. I'm literally reading it from Wikipedia. But it's saying that a lot of these they were introduced to cut down on the mosquito population because they eat the larvae.
Makes sense because there was like 0 mosquitoes where
well, gazillion mosquito fish. It also goes on to say it gotten out of control in a lot of places like Australia, and so fascinating.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, there wasn't very many mosquitoes. We were trying to figure that out. We didn't know if it was something in the water or if it was all the birds because there was about 10 billion different kinds of birds down there too, like wild, crazy birds too. Stuff that I've only ever seen in a zoo. Blue macaws, that was really cool. I had never seen a blue macaw in the wild.
All right.
But I got to see one of those in the wild. They had these things called chakalacas that literally sounded like, I don't know what, like something out of War of the Worlds. And they were so loud that you literally had to cover your ears when they got going. And they also had, so you know what a cowbird is?
Nobody knows what a cowbird is.
Okay, so like it's a white, like a so you know what a blue herring is.
Oh yeah.
So you know the white herrings, they're just long leg, long neck dudes, but they're white. So we call those cowbirds around here. And the reason we call them cowbirds is because they flip over cow patties and eat the bugs out from beneath them.
Okay,
but anyway, so there were a bunch of those down there, but I guess they were Mexican cowbirds because they sounded like a deer grunting. And so like you would get next to these trees and there'd be a billion of these cowbirds in the trees and they'd be literally sound just like a deer going burp, burp, burp. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, just tons of birds, tons of wildlife. I mean, really.
That's the beauty of going international, right? Because you go out there like, wow, there is so much travel to Africa all the time. And like, oh, monkeys are trying to get into my room. And the amount of birds are just insane. So if you never travel international, it is an eye-opening experience just when it comes to wildlife.
Absolutely.
So I can definitely see that.
Yeah. And that's what I love about it, man. I mean, like, I love the adventure. I love going and seeing something new that I've never seen before and being able to go like, hey, I've been there. I've done that. You know what I mean? That's fun. You know,
would you do it again?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm like already trying to plan another trip. I want to go to El Salto. Like I want to have my chance to swing at El Salto because it's just another level. Like and that's what I've been told, like as much fun as I had on Picachos, imagine Picachos, but when you swing, it's not 4-pounders, it's 7 and 8-pounders. And I'm like,
right,
do that.
I'm your man. Let's go.
Okay, I'm down, bro. Like I'm dead serious. I'm trying to get a group of people together that'll go and like take a big trip and go and do it.
Count me in.
Okay.
That sounds freaking amazing.
I'm not joking, dude. I got the guy's contact. I got the dude who like sets it all up and we can like get it all set up, pay for it, and we're going to Mexico, buddy.
I want the guy that knows one word and just points. That's the guy that I want.
Crankbait. Well, Rafa.
Crankbait.
Dude, crankbait.
Now you didn't bring with you lures or anything. You're just using what they have.
No. So the way their guide service is set up is you only have to bring reels and the tackle that you want to throw.
Okay.
They have rods there. I opted to bring my rods just because I wanted my stuff, with me. And then I actually ended up giving all my rods away before I left. The guides are very well paid. Everybody that works there is very well paid, but they still live in Mexico. You know what I mean? And so I was handing out rods left and right as I was leaving. Number one, because I didn't want to try to bring the rod tube back into America with me. Or I brought the tube, just collapsed. But number two, like I just wanted these dudes to have fishing stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
good quality gear.
Yeah, I mean, it's they fish, they love fishing, but they don't have access to the Dick's or the Academy or the tackle warehouse like we do. You know what I mean?
So I got to tell you, you
but-
reminded me of something real fast. Sorry,
Yeah.
we'll get, but I back when it was good 5 years ago. I used to lead trips up Kilimanjaro. I've been up 3 times, and at the end of that trip, what the team would always do is when we get down to the bottom. A lot of people at the end of Kilimanjaro, they're like, I'm never hiking again, so I don't need any of this gear. I don't need my shoes. I don't need my boots. I don't need my hiking sticks. I don't need any of this stuff. And when we would take a group of 13 people up the side of the mountain to the top of Kilimanjaro, we would have, on average, around 100 support crew supporting that team of 13. And these are all native men who would carry literally the kitchen sink and bedding and all this, their tents and all your stuff and all their stuff. And they would do it in like unbelievable boots that are falling apart and so forth and so on. So you sit there and you're like, this is their livelihoods. Like, just take it all. Oh my gosh. I'll be fine and probably never think of it after this moment.
Nope.
You need it more than I ever will. And so I understand what went through your mind in that moment. Like, this is their craft. And having some nice quality gear.
They treated us so well. Like they would come get our fishing gear from our rooms every morning and have it on the boat waiting for us and then carry it back in the afternoons. Like just worked so hard to put us on fish. And like, you know, the goal for us every day was to catch 100 plus. And like, dude, they would work so hard to make sure we got 100 plus fish, like whatever it took. And so, so I started handing out rods, but so to go back to the original question, you bring your tackle and your reels, and they have rods, but I brought rods and reels and everything with me. And I kind of know now a kind of a more refined list of what exactly I need to take. You know what I mean? Like these bass aren't complicated, but they do like a certain set of lures and they like them really, really well. And like, so I kind of overpacked this go round and took a little too much stuff with me. Next go round, I'm still probably going to overpack and take a little too much stuff with me, but I'll have a lot more of the right stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, so that's kind of how that worked. It was actually, I liked it. You know what I mean? I liked the fact that you kind of had to bring your own gear and kind of, I don't know, the prep work was super fun to me, you know, to look at it. And like, I watched as many videos as I could find on Picachos Lakes, Mexico, which
how many are out there, by the way?
There's quite a few and they all suck because it's just like, it's like those people that were like, they're like, I'm going to buy a GoPro for this trip, and this is going to be the trip that launches my YouTube channel. Only video they ever posted. It's just music, no explanation, just hook sets. And it's like from 6 miles away where you can't even see what they're throwing. And so I'm like sitting there and I'm like pausing videos. I'm like, that's a worm. Yeah, that's an 8-inch ribbon tail worm. I can get some of those. And like, I got my buddy's sitting there with me, and he's like, I'm pretty sure. He's like, that's a lizard. I'm like, yeah, add to the list. Add a lizard to the list.
16 lizards off the shelf. You're just pulling them from your pegboard.
Yeah. I'm on Berkeley's website, just going to town like lizards. We need lizards.
Every color of lizards.
Yeah, just if it's max sick, get it. That's what I want.
One fish with kind of a lizard. Bring them all.
Yeah, that's right. And so that was fun. Just the prep work, the packing, like the whole process of getting there. And getting my stuff to Mexico was as much fun as like getting to Mexico and then getting to like reassemble it all and having the gratification of going like, hey, I brought the right stuff. Like this stuff is going to work. Cause like every guide we get in the boat with them every day and like they dig through my stuff. Like they were so funny. Like they would start digging through it and they were like, nope. It was like a few things. They were like, nope. And like they go, see, and they'd pull something out, like hand it to me. Like it was just funny. Like it was such a good time in that capacity.
Oh my gosh. That reminds me. I hiked the Appalachian Trail back in 2008.
Really?
And about 2 weeks into the Appalachian Trail, you come up to it's like an outfitting store.
Okay.
And it's known for doing what's called a shakedown. And essentially what they do is the workers would be like, hey, give me your backpack, which everyone's been now carrying for 2 weeks. They usually overpack, right? So this thing should be 35, 40 pounds. Yeah. Sometimes they can get up to like 70 pounds because people are like just bringing whatever.
Yeah.
And so they like just empty it out on the floor, and they tell you what you need, what you don't need. And of course, if you have things that are overweight, they'll try to sell it to you, of course, in the store. But nonetheless, it's a service. And so it kind of reminds me of that. Ironically, for me, I was blogging along the way. And back then, 2008,
Yeah.
it's not like I had an iPhone I could just go to and do it, right? I had
Yeah.
like a flip phone at that time. So I was like literally carrying a laptop with me. And when I pulled that thing out of my backpack, they all looked at each other like, what?
Hell,
What in the world is going on right here? I eventually got smarter and started shipping in those flat rate boxes to the next post office, so I didn't have to carry it in my backpack.
Yeah.
But that's what it reminds me of. They just literally pick through your stuff like, nope, too heavy, nope, not gonna need that. That's ridiculous.
That's crazy. How long did it take you to do the whole trail?
6 months.
That's crazy, dude. You do it all one shot, like 6 months straight through?
Through hiker. Oh yeah, 100%.
That's awesome.
From Dahlonega, Georgia, up to it sounds like you're familiar. Have you thought about doing it?
I'm right in the middle of it.
Yeah,
I'm
you are.
smack in the middle of it. Like I literally can go hike about 15 different sections of the Appalachian Trail from my house within like an hour and a half drive.
Yeah.
So I've never thought about doing the whole thing, but I'm always fascinated by the people who do it. I actually had a buddy in college. Long story, but I mean it's worth the story. So this guy was incredible human. I'll never forget. His name was Graham, and Graham was a Iraq veteran and had seen a lot of stuff and done a lot of stuff and had a lot of PTSD from it. And I'll never forget it because he told me one day, he's like, "Hey man, I'm going to kill myself." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "No." I was like, "No, dude, like that's not what you want to do." And he's like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "This is what I want to do." And I'm like, "No, man." Like just so had like accepted it to that point. You know what I mean? Where it was like a conversation thing. And he disappeared one day. And I kind of got worried. I thought, man, he's gone and done something terrible. You know what I mean? And come to find out, Graham went and did a ketamine treatment, like a psychedelics ketamine, I think is what it was, ketamine, like in a controlled environment, did this treatment, totally changed his life, totally changed his outlook on existence, came out of that not wanting to kill himself, and he cracked off and hiked the Appalachian Trail.
Heck yeah.
And like 6 months later, I get a phone call and he goes, "Hey, it's Graham." I said, "Hey, man." He said, "I just want to tell you I finished the Appalachian Trail." I'm like, "Dude, that's badass." And he's like, "Yeah, man, I've never heard from that guy ever again." And like, it's just one of the craziest, like that's so every time I hear anything about the Appalachian Trail, that's like the number one thing that pops into my mind is old Graham from college who went and found himself and went to hike the Appalachian Trail and had to tell me about it. And so like, it's just one of those people that make an impact on your life and you in a weird way, but it's a way,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, no, it's cool though, dude. I love the park. I love the Smoky Mountain National Park. I love anything around there, Cherokee National Forest. I mean, dude, there is something to me that is special about those areas, and just there's a lot of untouched forest there. There's a lot of there's actual real old growth forest in some of the sections of the Appalachian Trail and in some of the sections of the Smoky Mountains and Cherokee National Forest. And like
it's like sacred, man. It really
is. It is. And like I always tell people, if you ever get the chance to go and see real old growth forest, stuff that truly has not been touched since who knows when, and be able to go and enjoy those areas, and not only enjoy them, and like catch fish in those areas too, like whether it be trout or whatever it is, dude, is just it's a special experience. And I love that. So that's why you can kind of see I kind of get a little excited about
it.
Yeah, because I just love it, man.
I told my daughters 9 and 7 that if ever they want to hike the Appalachian Trail, I would quit my job and I would do it. All you have to tell me is you want to do it. I'll go. I'll do it twice. If you guys are like in between high school. And what I would love to do is bring a collapsible rod with me, because there is a ton of places to fish along the way.
Oh, yeah.
And so that is my dream, to do it again.
Yep.
And so we'll see. We'll see if they have the outdoor bug, or they enjoy fishing, or want to hang out with dad for 6 months.
Yeah.
Sleep in the tent. But the AT is one of those places, like you mentioned, you get the amount you just never know when you wake up in the morning, because you sleep in lean-tos, and there's a ton of them along the way. You wake up and you look to your left, and there be a millionaire who's like, "I can't take it anymore. I need to get on the trail." and you look to the right, and there's a homeless guy.
Yeah.
Right. And everybody's everyone's equal on the trail. It's wide. Yeah.
Yep.
And so everyone's coming from all wide. I literally hiked with a guy for 3 months who worked for Mercedes, and he was an engineer. He's like, I was going to have a heart attack if I didn't get out of there. And so he quit his job and hopped on the trail. The greatest guy ever. And so it's literally just wild. And so if you need to get away, you're struggling, that it's a good place to find yourself and find a lot of other things as well. So
absolutely. No, it's so cool, dude. That's it. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're in Mexico or if you're in the Appalachian Trail or whatever. It's just being outside is the ultimate equalizer. You know what I mean? Like being out there in the outdoors and experiencing. I've always said, and I continue to say this, we were made to do hard things. And people don't do enough hard things anymore. You know what I mean? And they don't put themselves in uncomfortable situations enough. And it's like, that's where I thrive the best. It's like when I'm uncomfortable and I'm doing something hard and I'm doing something fun and I'm doing something different that I've never done before and a new adventure, a new experience. Like I just was out in my driveway with my buddy practicing casting my fly rod before it got dark outside and I suck. I'm terrible. I am horrible. I walked in the Orvis store today and I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. Help me. And you know what I mean? It's like, and I think that the more situations we can put ourselves in where we're uncomfortable and we have to go, I have no idea what I'm doing, the better off of a human that you are at the end of the day. And like, I know for me that I thrive in that. And so it's just, yeah, dude, that's wicked, bro. Hey, congratulations on hiking the whole entire thing.
Oh,
not very many people can say that they did that. You know what I mean?
No, it's wild. A lot of people start off with great intentions, but I mean, the finish rate has increased over the years, right? When things get a lot lighter and people know what they're getting themselves into. But still, it's I've literally heard stories of people who've hiked 5 months, 3 weeks, and quit in the 100-mile wilderness a week from the end. And so everyone's breaking points. I mean, there's people who hike it barefoot. There's people who will hike it in Chaco sandals. There's just, it's all kinds of kinds, man. All kinds of kinds on the trail.
It takes all kinds to make this thing go round too. But there's a few of them kinds that I wish they'd get lost out there in the woods, but it takes all kinds.
And then there's crazy stories. I mean, you get in the Appalachian Trail world, there's crazy stories. I mean, there's murders on the trail. There's all kinds of stuff historically that go on and on. But man, I would do it again in a second.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Yeah, hit me.
Did you ever experience anything that you couldn't explain on the trail?
No.
Really?
Nothing supernatural, nothing weird like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, that's a weird question. What's your basis for that question? What you got going on over here?
Bro, I've had a few situations. One in particular, it was very... So I got two stories I can tell. One story did not happen to me. It actually happened to my dad, and I still believe this story to this day. We can get into that one here in a second. But my story was I was in a piece of national forest land.
I hope this is going a Bigfoot route, by the way.
I wish it was.
Oh, dang
my
it.
dad's story is a Bigfoot story.
Ooh.
Corroborated with another story completely unconnected to his that I heard 25 years after his experience. I'll have to tell it here in a minute. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Sorry.
Anyway, no, you're good. You're good. No, my experience is I was on a piece of national forest land, and the best way that I can describe this is that I walked into an area that felt dark, felt heavy, like I did not belong there. And like when I walked out of that area, I was fine. I walked back into that area, and it was like there was a palpable presence of like, you don't need to be here and you need to leave.
What do you mean by area? You mean like
just like a section of woods.
Okay.
I don't know what was there. I kind of poked around for a little bit to see, like, is there like an old house here? Is there something here that's like that would do this? And it just wasn't. It was just like, dude, walk into an area and like felt like the world was like right here. You know what I mean? It's like this. And you're just like, I gotta get away from like this pressure that's on me. And like walk 100 yards in another direction, and it's just like, and you're good. And it's like the weirdest thing. I've had that happen not only here, I had it happen in Haiti.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was just gonna share a story just like that.
Haiti was connected to a witch doctor, though, a real voodoo
Yeah,
priests.
Haiti, Africa. Yeah, this is a real
Yeah.
thing. Like they're witch
Yep.
doctors today.
Yes, they're like real deal, like
100%.
dark magic. Like
100%.
I don't care what you believe, there's something evil with that. You know what I mean? There's evil there that's like palpable, like they're pulling it out of hell or the ether or whatever it is, and it's not good. Like not good at all.
Sacrifices, all that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, no, that's the one. Now, my dad's experience. This is a good one, bro. This one, we'll get my
Are you a believer? Oh,
Absolutely.
you guys are listening in. He literally
Yes.
pulls out a Bigfoot ornament. That thing's like 8 inches tall.
My buddy, Mr. Drunkwood, made that for me. He made that in a sign that says "Rudd" for me and Bethany as a wedding gift, and so that's my Bigfoot. But no, yeah. So my belief in Bigfoot is that the fact that the Pacific Northwest exists and that British Columbia, that there's literally parts of British Columbia that no human has ever stepped foot on, and the fact that there might be a highly intelligent great ape that lives in those areas, I can 100% believe it, and I want to believe that he's real. This story, on the other hand, is crazy. So this happened on Norris Lake here in Tennessee. My dad was not fishing with a guy named Lee Varner. And on Norris Lake, there's a section of the lake that has springs that dump in. And so during the summer, you go not fishing and you go fish these springs because the bass push up into these springs at night and eat bait fish because the water's cool and the bait fish go up in there, and there's just a great area. And so they're up there fishing at night. They got their black lights on their boat, which allows you to see your line without, having a white light and attracting every bug and scaring the fish and all that. So they're fishing. And Dad said, it's just a normal night here in Tennessee. I'm sure Ohio's the same way, but here in Tennessee, it's like so loud at night because of all the bugs.
Oh, yeah.
It's deafening. Like it's just constantly, right? And so like Dad said, it goes dead quiet. Like he said, pin drop quiet outside. And it's one of those nights, there's no moon, super dark. And so Dad was a consummate outdoorsman. If you could hunt it, fish it, trap it, kill it, eat it, my dad did it at some point or another. I mean, like he was the kind of dude that he never hiked the Appalachian Trail, but he would have cracked off and did it. The only thing that kept him from doing it is he liked killing deer with a bow and shooting stuff with a shotgun a lot more than hiking. You know what I mean?
Right.
But slept in trucks, slept in tents. I mean, he's been outdoors his whole entire life, literally a whole entire life. I mean, till the day, even just a few months before he died. I mean, like the last thing we did together was go fishing. Like not the last thing, but the last, thing we did outside was go fishing. And so, you're talking about a guy here that's not timid of the outdoors, not timid of the dark, like my dad was a hard ass. Like, he didn't make stuff
too easily.
doesn't scare too easy. He says, so the woods go completely silent. And he said, just naturally, he kind of starts scanning the woods, looking like, what is this? He's thinking, oh man, I'm going to get to see something cool, like a panther or like a mountain lion or something like that. And he says he looks up in the woods, and standing next to a tree is this just giant whitish gray figure standing like upright, just like next to this tree.
Oh, you're going Yeti on me.
And so dad naturally, first instinct is like, somebody's jacking with us. Like it's the middle of the night. It's some dumb redneck out in the middle of the woods. Like, he's like, son of a gun. You know what I mean? And so he's like, hey man, what are you doing? He said, the thing just stands there. And my dad's like, what the heck? And he's like, dude, quit jacking with us. And he said, like,
he's got a buddy with him, right?
Yeah, his buddy Lee's with him. And so Lee's kind of jacking with him, and like, hey, get out of here, quit jacking with us. And he said, like, after like the second or third thing they said, that thing literally cleared the woods out. Like turned
an elephant cruising through.
Just bolted up the hill. He said unhumanly fast, bolted, just tearing down trees and sticks and just up through the woods. And Dad looked at his buddy looked at him, and he's like, we're getting the hell out of here. They get the hell out of here. Now, my dad tells me this story, I'd heard the story 2 or 3 times. Every time he told it, he would get cold chills. Like this was really happened to my dad. Like I truly believe this happened. So I'm listening to a podcast years later after he tells me this story.
Okay.
And the podcast is called It's like it's Sasquatch Chronicles is what it's called. Like I went all down the rabbit hole. Like I love Sasquatch. Well, this lady calls in and she's like, "Hey, I've got a story to tell." So I was on Norris Lake one time, and I'm like,
Oh, you got me. I'm in. Anything you say is true right now.
I'm like, dude, literally, I pull over on the side of the road. I'm talking, I almost wreck because I'm like, he's like, I'm on Norris Lake one time, and I'm like listening, and she's like, and what's crazy is this is on the same side of the lake that my dad had his experience. Okay, so this is like geographically makes sense where this happened at. And she said, I'm driving down the road, and in this giant whitish gray figure ran across the road in front of me, upright, running like a man. She's like, and it was like in the early 2000s. Like, and this is exactly when it happened to my dad. Dude, I literally almost wrecked trying to get pulled over to get my phone out to call my dad and be like, dude, you're never going to believe this. And so this random woman has no connection to my dad whatsoever.
Right.
My dad has never told really anybody this story other than like us and a couple buddies. Corroborated his story 20 or 10, 15 years later about the same exact large, hairy, grayish white figure that looks like Bigfoot on Norris Lake.
Have you heard any other corroborating evidence or stories during that time?
Those are the two that I could find. Those are the two that I are connected. One, my dad, one, this lady. Now, I've never really dug into it deeper than that because, I mean, dude, you Google Bigfoot in Tennessee, and I mean, it's a billion damn stories. Like, man, he's in my backyard eating my sweet corn from my damn pig sty. I mean, son, I tell you what, I shot him with a shotgun. And so it's like 1,000 of those. You know what I mean? But I'm looking for like real, like hard, tangible stuff.
Yeah, you need the grandma who has no invested interest at all. Like, hey,
Exactly.
This is what I saw, and I went on with my life. Yeah.
That, or you need this like totally unconnected, like weird, totally coincidence thing. Like, I'm not looking for it to happen. It just happens to be a story in this podcast that I've listened to 50 episodes. And on the 51st episode, this lady's like, I was driving next to Norris Lake in Tennessee and a gray white figure ran across the road in the early 2000s. And I'm just like, huh. And so, yeah, that's that story. Absolutely wild.
What happened when you called your pops on that one?
Oh, he was like, man, I told you it's real.
Like, I did not believe you, pops. I just believe you more now.
Yeah, I was like, no, I definitely believe you now. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I told you. He said, that's crazy. He's like, it makes sense. He said, there was something in the woods that night. He said, that's something I can't explain. He said, I've never seen it since, and I'll probably never see it again.
How big was it for him? Like, okay, was it
like big,
7 foot?
Yeah, he said it was big. Like he said it stood next to a tree. He said, and like you could just tell the mass of it. Like it just he said he couldn't. He always said like I can't tell you exactly how big it was, but it was bigger than a person.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I just love the fact that on your podcast, I've drug you into a Bigfoot story.
No, you didn't drag me anywhere. I'm walking hand in hand.
Let's go. Class together.
So we traveled down to Tennessee because my wife's uncle has a cabin about 30 minutes outside of was it Gatlinburg?
Yeah.
And he does some rentals and stuff. We stay in Gatlinburg, and he's got black bears that come up to his cabin. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And I forget what it's called, but he's 30 minutes out. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. But his neighbor he's like one of the #1 carvers. You know, there's a lot of wood carving out there for Bigfoot.
Nice.
And so that's his job. So he's showing me all the stuff that he does, and it's just like Bigfoot. And there's like Bigfoot conventions and Bigfoot carvers conventions and so forth. And so this is like the guy.
Yeah.
And so you're not dragging me in to nowhere. Let's just have a podcast where you just straight up talk Bigfoot. I can see
I'm planning on one. I'm trying to get a Bigfoot researcher to come on the podcast just to talk to him, just to hang out. Like I'd say it's the Alex Red Fishing Podcast where we talk about everything but fishing. Dude, next time you're down here, let me know. You're 40 minutes from me when you're in Gatlinburg.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude.
Okay.
Have you ever trout fished in Gatlinburg?
No. I mean, obviously it's everywhere there, but I'm usually doing family stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm getting ready to make a run. I mean, it's going to be a minute. Yeah. Getting ready to make a run at full time. Then it's like game on, right?
Oh,
hey, you want to go to Mexico? Yeah. I'm going to come down for 3 or 4 days. We're just going to do content together. So I have a stop date my wife and I have talked about. We got to get a certain amount of cash in the bank, so forth and so on. But that date is in mind.
Let's do it, buddy.
And it's not close, but it's not far away type of thing.
I love it.
So, man, it's going to happen one way or another, but hopefully the sooner date happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I hope it does too, man. I tell people all the time, it's the greatest decision I ever made.
Yeah.
Life's too short not to send it. You know what I
You
mean?
know what? I that's where I'm at. I was like, you know what? You kind of have that. Okay, I got 2 kids, and we'll just got to throttle it back. My wife and I mean, when we first got married, I think we made a total of like $29,000 a year. So we know what it's like to make nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Now I'm a VP at a nonprofit. We know what it's like to make something,
Uh-huh.
but I don't need to. It's not like we just need to throttle it back a little bit so we can really enjoy life, and I'm not super stressed out.
Yeah.
I mean, my gosh. I mean, I know of a couple people at my job where I work that's had heart attacks in the last year. So I cannot. It's just stressful work. And a lot of jobs are stressful out there, but I tell you what, content creation is not for me. It brings me life, and so I look forward to hop in, man.
I tell people all the time, look, I've never worked harder in my whole entire life and enjoyed every single second of it. Like, that's the thing, dude.
I don't mind work. I love the grind. I love hustle culture.
Yep.
I love shorts that go 28 million. I love.
Let's go. 28 million.
Oh my gosh.
Definitely.
So real quick, I got a question for you. A little side, because you're a hummingbird guy.
Yeah.
Explore Fish Finders came out. MegaLive 2 just came out. I got a video come out tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. on it. I think it's fascinating.
Yep.
What do you think? Did you get a hold of it?
Not yet. It's on the way.
I'm about to flip some tables. How are these other people getting a hold of it? And Alex Rudd is not. I'm about to write them.
Listen, it's what happens when you're it's what happens when you suck with forward-facing sonar. They don't send you the new stuff just right off the rip. They're like the dude with the flipping stick probably don't need it. We'll get it to him when it comes
when
out.
we can get it to him.
Yeah. It's like, he'll be all right. He's got a set of Raptors. That's all he needs. But no, dude, I'm really excited about it. I think, it's one of the things I kind of talked to him about it and obviously MegaLive 2. I'm really excited about it because let's be totally honest, MegaLive 1 was not good. It had its dramatic issues. It's not to snuff with Garmin. It just wasn't. This MegaLive 2 has stepped us up where we can actually say, hey, we can compete now. You know what I mean? And so that's my big thing about it. I'm very excited to now have that technology in my hands and it be really good. And now to actually be able to go out and catch fish with it. Now, that's not to say I didn't catch fish with MegaLive 1. I did. But there was a lot of situations where there was dudes who had live scope. There was dudes who had the Lowrance, what's the Lowrance is called? I always forget. Anyway, but whatever Lowrance's is, like that just would beat you with it. You know what I mean? And so having that technology up to snuff now is going to be really, really cool. And then the Explorer series, I'm excited about it because they've taken the graph, the electronic, and they've simplified it. So you get all the really nice fancy features that Apex has and that Solix had, and now you get it in a simplified format for dummies like me because I'm just not an electronics guy. You know what I mean? Like I use my electronics. I use them for waypoints. I use them for mapping. I use them for a little bit of down inside imaging. And then obviously the MegaLive stuff when I'm playing around with it. But for the most part, I'm looking for the most technology I can pack into something while still being dummy proof. And that's just me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's what Explorer is going to be. And then too, it's more affordable. I hate to say it's affordable because affordable is such a subjective term.
Right.
And for a lot of people, $2,000 and $3,000 is not affordable.
100%.
But if you're looking and you're going to buy and you've saved the money or you've got the money or whatever, however you're going to do it, Humminbird has gave you a really good piece of technology with, in my opinion, the absolute best mapping that you can buy at a $2,000 to $3,000 price point versus a $6,000 to $7,000 price point for some of these other electronics. And so I dig it, dude. I dig it.
You got the transducer alone. If you can upgrade to your Solix Gen 3s or your what's the
Apex.
You can just upgrade transducer for what, $1,200-$1,300?
Yep.
And then if you want the Explorer, which is custom built, for the MegaLive 2.
Yep.
I mean, and they make a 9, a 10-1 to 12-1. I think it goes $1,299, $19.99, $24.99 for that. But yeah, so you can hop in on a lower price point.
Yep.
Latest
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. Dude. And I mean, and that's going to be, I think that when we really look at it, that's whoever succeeds in electronics is going to be the one that makes it the most affordable for people to get into it. And I think a lot of people look at electronics as this unachievable thing, but when in reality, like you gave $1,600 for that, Apple phone in your pocket, you gave $700 for that Apple Watch on your wrist, you're used to giving that for technology. It's just that technology is set up in a way where they hide it in your phone bill or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
or spread it out over 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, they let you put it on an Apple credit card with no interest, all that fancy stuff, right? Make you feel good about it.
Yep.
Whereas these things, it's like, hey, it's now, we put it on now, and that's what it is. But I really think that when we look at fishing technology, the company that makes it affordable and then the company that makes it upgradable. Because that's the thing about an iPhone is you can have an iPhone 10 and it still work today enough to get you by.
Right.
The problem with a lot of these fishing electronics is 2 upgrades or 3 software updates in, and it's slowing way down on you. And so I think that's going to be interesting. I think that that's the future of where this technology goes. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, you tell me what you think. I think AI makes a difference. I think that AI is going to make a difference in everything. That I think in
Everything.
in any capacity that you think AI is going to make a difference. Like even if you don't think it's going to make a difference, there's going to be a difference there. But I think as far as like fishing technology goes, like with forward facing, I don't know if it gets any better than what we've got. I think it gets clearer. I think we shoot out a little bit further, but I mean, dude,
it's shooting out. I was doing some research on the MegaLive too. It's shooting out farther than you can cast.
140 feet. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, most guys can't even get it that far. So we're at the range unless you need to see farther so you can drive your boat over there.
Yeah.
But it's I think it gets better. I think it looks stupid. Almost not so much photographic as it won't be the yellow blobs and returns. Like they'll make that where you can actually even see the fish.
Yeah.
It'll be stupid.
It's gonna be interesting, buddy. It scares me a little bit. I watched that Netflix movie the other night with Megan Fox where she's the creepy AI robot, and by the end of it, I was like, like if it was like 5 years ago, I'd say no, that's never gonna happen. But now I'm like, shit, that actually might happen.
It's freaking happening. There's so much happening. There's so much happening. I believe that we don't know right now behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
I think jobs are going to get wiped out in mass.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to be a serious problem.
Absolutely. Did you hear about the new Chat GPT?
No, but I use Chat GPT literally freaking every day.
Oh, I do too, which is creepy within itself. But so Chat GPT 4 had 10 billion CPUs or GPUs. Chat GPT 5 has 10 trillion GPUs. So what they're talking about is this next phase that comes out, because it comes out for public consumption within the next year. Takes it from a simple large language model into literal actual AI, where it's able to rationalize and have conversations and complex problems and mathematics and it's that one step closer to the singularity type deal. Yeah.
This is where I think it goes eventually. And this would be freaking rad. I think you put on and someone mentioned it over here, but I've thought about this. Bass Raft mentioned this. You put on a VR set.
Yep.
It allows you to see everything as if you were standing on your boat. It's not like you're fall off your boat. Mm-hmm. But it's going to instead of having to do the calculations in your brain, okay, it's over there and getting this type of return, it's moving, it's kind of moving. You're going to literally just be able to look over there and see. You're just going to see it. You're going to see it. The dream of all anglers, hey, I wish I could see what's under the water right now. Just so I can see how many fish is out there. I believe will eventually become a reality. It will actually calculate all that stuff for you. Mm-hmm. And you'll just, whatever the returns, you'll just be able to literally see it.
See, dude, that's when I
don't love it. I don't love it. I just think that's where it goes eventually. Yeah. That's where we end. Yeah. Where you literally see what's under the water, and then it's just not fun anymore.
Yeah, that's me. That's today I went trout fishing. walked a stream, physically saw the trout with my eyes, physically watched them interact with the bait, was casting because I could see them. Like, that's fun to me. You know what I mean? And it's like, I think you're right. Like, I think that that's the one thing that people need to understand is it doesn't matter how hard you fight against the technology. It's not slowing down. That's everything, but absolutely fishing. Like, it doesn't matter how many rage-filled videos Brandy Blockett makes. God love his soul. But, like, it's not going to help. Like, especially in this, like, the whole tournament thing, we're going to go down a rabbit hole. But anyway, the whole tournament thing within itself, I think people, like, they're, like, trying to put morals onto something that is, I mean, yes, there needs to be some sort of morals and rule set in fishing. But at the end of the day, these dudes are betting their money and they're trying to get their money back. Morals be damned at that point. Rules be damned at that point. Like, dude, they're trying to get their money back. Let them do whatever they need to do. Whatever they think is proper outside of hurting someone else or cheating somebody or breaking a law. Rules be damned. Let them do whatever they want to get their money back. You know what I mean? But then from like a fun standpoint, like, there's people who truly enjoy live scope. I mean, dude, I went down to Lake Lanier and we did the whole live scope thing with the Forage. And dude, golly. Dude, it's so much fun. When you pull up to a brush pile and you scan it and you see 150 spotted bass sitting on this brush pile and you throw a Forage over there and start reeling and they come up and start fighting over it at the top, dude. That's like a crack addict on crack. I mean, like, it's awesome, what I mean? But all that being said, I still want to go walk a stream with a spinner and try to catch a trout, and so it's just interesting.
I would love to have it. I can't afford it. That's not within my range, but I would love to have it someday, only because here's the reason I want to have it. I want to have it because I just want to learn, right? I want to soak everything in about fishing. I want to know what the crap they're doing, how they're interacting with my lure, what they're not doing. The closest thing I got to that was the knucklehead this year. And one of my team members had it, and I would kind of follow him because obviously, and he was like, okay, throw the jerk bait over there. So I threw it over there. And he's like, speed it up, speed it up, speed it up, speed it up, speed it up. So boom, they smack it. It's like that thing was right on it. And he's like, typically what you do on a jerk bait, you throw it out and you can do like soft pause, cut, pause. But as you get closer, you want to speed that up in case you have any chasers and they'll get them to commit. Something that you typically would not really ever know unless you could see that behavior underneath. And I want to see that for every single type of lure and presentation that I'm doing. So it informs my everyday non-FFS Daren, which is every day right now. But I'd love to be able to not use it all the time, but have it available to me when I want to get out there and just devour knowledge on it.
And dude, that's it. I think that's the thing is that people are viewing it as it catches fish for you. No, it just shows you a lot of fish. And that's what I learned about it is I chased gar around for an hour, not realizing they were gar. And, I chased a pot of carp around, not realizing they were carp. Did it. I fell hooked a carp in the top of the head and thought I'd caught a 10-pounder. It was but what was really cool in all of that is like, you see a gar come up and gulp air off the top of the water. Well, I always thought they were sitting right under the surface of the water. No, I was watching gar swim out of 25 feet, come up, gulp air, and then swim 25 feet back down.
Yeah, fascinating.
And it's just like one of those things you go, never seen that before.
Yeah, never seen that.
You know what I mean? You're like, I learned something today. And I've always said, like, one of the best learning experiences I ever had in bass fishing was going up north with Ben and bed fishing for smallmouth and seeing how a smallmouth reacts to something coming through its bed, watching its gills flare, watching it flare its fins out to try to scare whatever that is, watching it turn its body sideways to make itself look bigger. Just all of these different interactions. And then fishing in that clear water and you be fishing a jerkbait back and like, you jerk that jerkbait and the smallmouth like comes in right behind it and he's like right on its ass and like you stop it and that smallmouth like runs into it and almost like has to react to it because it stops so fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Either open my mouth or it hits me in my eyeball. Yeah.
Exactly. And like those are the types of things. And that's all forward facing sonar has done is it's just allowed us to have an underwater view of the world that these fish are living in with no human interference. Because that's the difference. When you're bed fishing for a fish, you have a fish follow something to the boat or trout fishing from the bank. these fish see you. And as soon as a fish sees you, it's a whole new set of stimulus for this fish that you've got to overcome as an angler to get them to eat. One of the cool, the simplest but coolest things I had a guy tell me one time, my buddy Judd, he's a guide for redfish. He said, you always want a fish to believe that it found your bait. And I was like, that is so simple, but it is like the absolute truth. Like if a fish in its little brain thinks that it found it and has the jump on it, it's going to eat it every single time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do in the wild. That's what they do. That's how they survive. And that's the thing about forward facing sonars. We can pan out there 100 feet. This bass does not know we're there. It does not know that there's a human going to interact with it in any way. And you drop a bait right on its head, and then you get to see what happens from there.
Yeah.
Whatever that may be. Spotted bass, it's like you think you dropped heroin in the water. Like they go completely nuts. But smallmouth and largemouth are different, and I mean, I don't know. I think it's an art. I think it's a skill. I think it's a tool. And I think, my buddy, he runs big machinery. Like I don't know how to run a skid steer, but he does.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's dudes that know how to run a forward facing sonar, and I'm not too good at it just yet, and I think that's the deal, dude. And I think, again, I don't think it slows down. I think it only gets worse and better or whatever from here.
I think it'll get to the point where everyone is agreeable that this is terrible. I don't know how long it is, but even the staunch proponents of it are going to be like, okay, this has gone too far.
Yeah, it's a little creepy.
Yeah,
like it's a little much. You know what I mean?
There's a point where you could see it, and you put on your VR headset, and you can literally see, and you can tell if it's a bass, and you can tell if it's a carp, and you can tell if it's a gar, you can tell if it's a school or crappie. And as crazy as that might sound today,
it's not though.
It will be here faster than you think,
dude. The Apple headset. I said this when it came out. I said the Apple Vision Pro. That's what it's called, Apple Vision Pro. I said that was the turning point. In that was the precipice of which we had to go over to enter this new age of technology. And the day that thing came out, and the first person that put that thing on their face and walked through a public place and saw the world through a totally VR experience while still experiencing the real world around them, that was it. And we've entered a whole new age of technology that there's no coming back from it now.
No, it's here. Just wait for them to connect the two.
Yep.
And then get it down to a price point where
we can afford
it. The common everyday can you get that $3,000 to $5,000 price point. Game over.
Yep. And dude, that's the thing is that's what they're like. Not everybody can afford a phone. Everybody in Mexico had a brand new iPhone. I go to Haiti and they had iPhones. I mean, people can't afford anything. Asking for money for food, and somehow they got an iPhone.
I travel internationally. Don't have clean water. Don't have food. Everybody has a phone. And they have a way to charge it.
Yep.
A lot of times going to church on Sunday morning. That's how they charge the phone.
Yeah. And it's just crazy, dude. Like I think that to me, the VR thing, I did it one time and I hated it because I put the mask on. I played a game. I took the mask off. It took my brain a good solid 30 seconds to reestablish reality.
Mm.
And when that happened, I physically felt my body was like, okay, this isn't what we were just doing. We have to lock back into what's real. When my brain did that, I was like, okay, I'm never putting that damn thing back on my brain. I was like, cause that is the devil. I'm good. I don't want any more of that. That was not fun to do that. Now, some people love it, but I just, no, thank you.
I don't know. Last question for you.
Okay.
What are you doing for Christmas, brother?
Man, absolutely nothing. I'm going to hang out with my family. We're going to eat food. We're just going to chill and be a family, dude. I don't have any crazy plans. Me and Bethany go to the beach every year after Christmas. So we'll be doing that. It's our yearly tradition. We leave on the 28th, 29th, go spend New Year's at the beach and come back. But dude, I'm really literally, I'm waiting for a couple more things to get lined out this week as far as having my 2025 locked in. And once those papers are signed and once everything's done, I am unplugging from the world for about 3 weeks. And then I will be back at the end of that 3 weeks and we'll get back onto 2025 and let her rip.
All right. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Well, I appreciate you. We're an hour and a half. Can you imagine that? I mean, from
buddy,
Mexico
listen.
bass fishing to the Yeti Sasquatch on your pop's lake to, I mean, we're all over the place. Someone was like, go down a rabbit hole. Rudd, you are a rabbit hole.
Hey, that's it, buddy. I'm just gonna rename the podcast. It's not gonna be Alex Red Fishing Podcast. It's gonna be the Rabbit Hole
The
Podcast.
rabbit hole. You know what?
Yeah.
That would go.
Yeah.
That would go.
Pretty well.
Well, thank you. Hey guys, we are not doing the KFO show for the next 2 weeks because they land on like Christmas and like New Year. So I will see you in 2025, and we got a great lineup. Rudd, thank you so much. Appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely, buddy. I enjoyed it. Anytime you just gotta let me know and I'll show up because I love to talk.
We'll do. You guys have a great holiday, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Bye, everybody. Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad.
I just watched that last night. Oh, I gotta end this thing.